What you are about to see is a project our 5th grade class did on Thomas Edison. We researched a lot of facts and photos. We mixed them with some science fiction to present our summary of recreation, which we call Edison in Time.
Edison in Time video project, Time Traveler Show. Stand by in the studio. Quiet, please. Good luck, everybody. Stand by to cue Brian.
3,
and
2.
Cue Brian.
Good evening. Welcome to Time Traveler. Thomas Edison was one of America's most famous inventors. He was responsible for making many changes take place in his lifetime. He created and contributed to modern nightlights, movies, telephones, records, and CDs. Edison was truly a genius. Tonight, we will time grab Mr. Edison from the year 1912 out of his West Orange, New Jersey laboratory. Tonight, Thomas Edison on Time Traveler.
A lot of people ask the secret to my success. And I tell them genius is hard work, stick-to-itiveness, and common sense. And I want you muckers to know that more patents were issued to me than have been issued to any other single person in the United States history. And of course, you know, a patent is something that says no one can copy your idea. Well, I was probably most famous for my development of the first electric light bulb. When I was born, electricity hadn't been developed. Now, entire cities are lit by electricity. Now, entire cities are lit by electricity. Whoa! Oh, nice! Where am I? I think I just had one of my spells. Who are you? What's all this?
Mr. Edison, excuse us for interrupting you at your day at work, but you've been brought to the year 1999. We're conducting an experiment of our own.
What's that?
Time travel interview.
Time travel? You can do that these days? Show me how.
I can't give you that information, Mr. Edison, or you could take it back with you and change the course of history that's already been recorded.
Huh?
You'll upset the time-space continuum.
What? I'm one of the smartest men in the history of science, and I have no idea what you just said.
Forget it. I heard that in a movie once.
Ah, now there you go. Movies. Invented movies, you know.
Oh, yes, but let's start at the beginning.
Huh? Who are you looking at? All right. Your invention's 99% perspiration and 1% inspiration.
As a child, people referred to you as spunky and inquisitive. What do you remember about your childhood?
I remember that I was bored in school, and Reverend Ingle didn't care for me too much. He said that I asked too many questions in math. He used to whip me. I guess I learned different than the other kids.
Thomas was a dull student. He wasn't good at math, couldn't read or write, and he was always asking me too many questions. After 3 months, I began to call him addled. He just couldn't learn. Well, Tom was not good in school. One day, Reverend Ingle came over. He said that Tom was not good in school. He said that he was kicked out. So I taught him at home. I taught him his ABCs, his math, and his reading. He loved to read. We also found out that he loved to play with chemicals. So we bought him a chemical set. I always said that Tom was a good boy.
Well, when I went over to Mrs. Edison's house, I told her her boy was addled. He was dumb, he was stupid. He didn't even know his ABCs, he didn't know how to write or read. I told her he was kicked out of school. That's what I said.
So what did interest you, Mr. Edison?
I'll tell you, that telegraph was on the cutting edge of technology and fun for me. I took that thing apart and put it back together about 50 times. Do you know it could transmit a message in code down the lines from train station to train station? Do they have anything like that these days?
What about the trains? Were they interesting to you?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I often rode the trains as a teenager. I liked being up front in the engine with the engineers, so I could see how everything worked. Do trains still exist?
Yes, Mr. Edison. Didn't you work for Mr. Mackenzie at a train station?
Yes.
One day, when Tom was at the train station, my 3-year-old son Jimmy was playing on the train tracks, which he shouldn't have been. Well, a freight car came loose and started speeding towards him. He could have been killed. Well, Tom saved my son. He jumped onto the platform and onto the tracks and pushed Jimmy out of the way. They got cuts and bruises, but no one was badly hurt. As a reward for saving Jimmy, I taught Tom how to use the telegraph.
Once I was late for my job selling newspapers on the train. A conductor did something to me that changed my life.
Well, one day, young Thomas was late for the train. Instead of running alongside the car and being the brat that he is, he asked me to put him up. So when he reached out his hand and asked me to pull me up, Mr. Conductor, pull me up. I can't run as fast as a train. I grabbed him by both his ears and yanked him up. He said he felt something snap and that he lost his hearing from the situation. But it was probably from something else, like the baggage car explosion or something. That was his fault, too.
Because I lost so much of my hearing in my ear, I kind of tuned the world out and was able to read and concentrate better than before. Deafness drove me to reading.
Well, one day when I was on the train, when Thomas was a teenager, he was selling his newspapers and candy. Then after a while, he decided to go in the baggage car and fool around with his chemicals and stuff. Then, all of a sudden, there was a big kaboom in the baggage car. I don't know what it was, but all I know is that Thomas got into big trouble that day.
When Thomas Edison was a teenager, he made up a story about the Fluxus Indians. He said that they invented the electric light bulb, the phonograph, and all the other stuff that he invented.
He did this just to fool the public on how he thought up his inventions. He was really a mischievous scoundrel.
You were to report every hour to Toronto by telegraph. So you invented a gadget that sent a signal even if you were asleep.
My boss came in and found me asleep. He almost fired me.
You invented the electric vote recorder. That was a great idea. Why didn't people seem to like it?
Let's just say that the politicians didn't want to speed up voting. It was my first commercial failure.
Didn't that make you feel like quitting?
Failure just made me try harder. Failure is a good thing to learn.
I know that the first invention that made you money was the stock ticker.
Thomas Edison's first invention that made money was the electric stock ticker. It gave information on stock tickets. He thought he could get $4,000 for it, but he got $40,000 for it. He was so surprised and excited that he got more money. With this money, he bought a business to make more stock tickers.
Then I came up with another improvement on the typewriter. Before I improved it, you could write faster than you could type. What was the point?
Then you improved several Morse's telegraph and worked at Western Union, which was the largest company in America at the time.
I'm Samuel Morse. In 1838, I invented the telegraph. The telegraph is a device for transmitting messages over a long distance. Later in time, Thomas Alva Edison improved my telegraph. He made it transmit a much larger distance and transmit 4 messages over 1 wire.
That's right. Thomas Edison did not invent the telegraph, but he did help to improve it. He improved it by creating a device where instead of having to type in the message over and over again, you only had to type it in one time. It was an electronic relay.
In 1886, you and your father built your own invention factory in Menlo Park, New Jersey. You had over 40 inventions and over... how many patents going at one time?
400 patents.
Well, if you have some exotic idea and you do not want anybody to steal your idea, you go and get a patent. That means you own your idea. Thomas Edison did that a lot.
It was the most productive time of my life. I married Mary Stillwell. We had 3 children. I had 60 workers all inventing and creating. It was something. I wrote in my notebooks constantly, and I worked up to 20 hours a day. I made one major invention every 6 months.
Didn't you improve Alexander Graham Bell's telephone?
Yes, I did. I made it so that you could speak normally. To use Bell's telephone, you had to shout into the receiver. What's the point?
I worked closely with Alexander Graham Bell. He invented the telephone, you know. So you shout into this receiver here, the sound travels through here, and comes out here. Edison improved the telephone by making it so you can speak in your normal voice instead of shouting. Hello?
Huh?
Edison had gray eyes and long shaggy hair. It looked like he had cut it himself. It was kind of a sight to see. His pants were like acid stained, and they weren't really good pants. Now his hands were like, they didn't look like human hands. They were all discolored and just different colors because from chemicals. I didn't really want to look at him a lot. When he got older, he started wearing black all over. People would often mistake him for a priest.
You invented the first electric pen or copy machine.
Yep.
People called you the Wizard of Menlo Park. Why?
Well, one day we were fooling around in the lab. While we were talking, I recorded vibrations on paper with a needle. We tried it on tinfoil, and it actually recorded sound for the very first time.
This is the phonograph. It is operated by this crank here. What you do is you speak into the mouthpiece while turning the crank. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go. Then you play it back. Mary had a little lamb whose fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
You were the first person ever to record something that could be played back and heard again.
That was why people thought I was a wizard.
Mr. Edison, which invention changed people's lives the most?
The electric light. That was 1879. Many scientists were working on this before electric light. People had to use smelly gas lights or candles to light their homes. I told the world that I would invent a safe and inexpensive electric light. It took us 1 year of experimenting with different filaments. That's a little thing in a light bulb that makes it light up. We tried platinum, bamboo, and sewing thread turned into carbon. It took over 15 months of research.
This here is the electric light bulb that Mr. Edison invented. Inside the glass, there's a filament that burns. Mr. Edison figured that if he rolled the filament in carbon, it'd burn longer. It was predicted to burn for only 2 to 3 minutes, but instead it burned for 40 hours long.
My next big problem was I needed to invent a power plant to light up all the electric lights my new company, General Electric, would make. I invented a giant electrical power plant to light up all of Lower Manhattan.
Edison married Mary Stillwell. They had 3 kids together. When she died, that's when Edison was heartbroken.
In 1884, your wife, Mary Stillwell Edison, passed away. You became more and more involved in your work. In 1886, at age 38, you married Minor Miller and had 3 more children. You built a bigger lab in West Orange, New Jersey. It was there that you perfected your phonograph. At Nickelodeon's, you could hear 2 minutes of music for a nickel.
Right, and I picked out the music, too.
Arms around me, honey, hold me tight. Cuddle up and cuddle up with all your might.
You created dolls that had little mini phonographs in them.
Yep, what a mistake. We manufactured 500 dolls a day. They broke too easy and were heavy. Little girls couldn't even pick them up.
One of Edison's engineers, William J. Hammer, made a discovery that led to the electron tube. The electron tube led to the electric signal. The electric signal led to the electronics. Without electrons, we might not have TV, computers, or even music. This discovery was patented as the Edison effect.
You were also famous for your inventions that didn't work out. What did they call those inventions?
Oh, yeah, Edison's folly. Big deal. Who cares? Like I said, I haven't failed. I just found 10,000 ways that don't work. Losers.
Iron ore separator?
Failed.
Record player doll?
Failed.
Cement houses?
Failed.
Electric battery canoe?
Failed.
Domestic rubber?
Failed.
What about the talk to the dead machine?
What we have here is a talk to the dead machine. It works by talking into this funnel. The sound then travels through this tube and into this here box. I started to invent this because I wish to talk to my wife. She's dead, you know. I hope this one works because most of my inventions have worked.
What were some of the successful inventions you created out of the West Orange, New Jersey laboratory?
Alkaline storage battery, a copy machine, a dictating machine, a cement mixer, and the microphone.
When Thomas Edison was 30 and 40 years old, he read everything he could about photographic optics. This helped him with his inventions for the movie cameras.
How about the motion picture camera?
Yes, George Eastman and I came up with a way to rapidly record images on film stock. Later, I figured out how to add sound to movies.
This is Edison's motion picture camera. See, what it does is the image goes through the lens, and then it goes through the film, and you shine it up on a wall, and it looks like a real person.
I had to build the first movie studio. The building revolved to get the sun. I made movies that I liked, like a man sneezing, a man boxing, two cats boxing, a woman dancing, and a couple kissing. Now that's entertainment.
People wanted to see more. So in 1903, you filmed the first movie ever created called The Great Train Robbery.
Politicians like to be seen with me, especially in election years. For some reason, they thought I was a vote getter. I guess because of all my inventions.
In later years,
I'm not in my later years yet.
Yes, but this will be your future, Mr. Edison. Once we put you back, you enjoyed the company of assembly line creator Henry Ford and rebel tycoon Harvey Firestone.
I'm Henry Ford. Thomas Edison was a cranky man. He was a bit older than me. We used to go camping in suits. Can you believe that? Suits. We used to talk about politics and how important it is to work hard.
And I am Harvey Firestone. We talked about how hard people work. It is important to get the job done.
When you died...
I die?
Yes, when you died, there is a tribute to you by the entire nation.
I die? Didn't I invent my way out of that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Edison, but when you die, the entire nation pays tribute to you by turning off all their lights for 1 minute.
I die? I've got to get working on that anti-death invention when I get back. Brian, can you show me around 1999? Can you make cows talk these days? I'm working on that. This is fascinating.
Mr. Edison, thank you for being on Time Traveler. Best of luck in your future, although I know you won't need it.
Wait a minute. I have to go? Oh, no. I never got to get out of my chair. Whoa, it's good to be back home. It's good to be back. I was in here in 1999, I had cameras and everything. Oh, good to be back. Very good to be back. They think I'm the big cheese in here in 1999. Nice to be back.
Thomas Edison never gave up. He felt that failure just steered him in another direction. He believed in hard work and determination. He encouraged creativity in his workers. That's it for Time Traveler. I'm Brian Nowak.